The upcoming Jupiter transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra marks a powerful chapter, one that brings much-needed relief, recovery, and rejuvenation following the intense and transformative energy of Jupiter's passage through Ardra Nakshatra. Beginning on August 12, 2025, and continuing until June 18, 2026, Jupiter's extended stay in Punarvasu, due to retrograde motion, makes this not just a transit but a profound spiritual and emotional turning point for the collective. Spanning from the 20th degree of Gemini to the 3.20th degree of Cancer, Punarvasu bridges the intellectual airiness of Gemini with the emotional sensitivity of Cancer. Jupiter's journey through this nakshatra therefore activates a powerful union of mind and heart, knowledge and nurturing, philosophy and emotion. Punarvasu Nakshatra, symbolized by a quiver of arrows and ruled by Jupiter, carries the essence of restoration. It represents the return of something once lost, the resurgence of light after darkness, the comeback after defeat, the reunion following separation. The mythological connection of Punarvasu with the deity, the universal mother and goddess of abundance, further amplifies themes of unconditional support, shelter, and rebirth. This makes Jupiter's transit here especially significant for global themes of healing, whether through medicine, spirituality, emotional processing, or even economic or social rehabilitation. As Jupiter enters this nakshatra, the emphasis will naturally shift from chaos, conflict, and destruction to the rebuilding and recovery of systems, whether personal or societal. Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, expansion, dharma, and blessings, is both the ruler and the main significator of Punarvasu Nakshatra. This means Jupiter's influence here is particularly powerful. The energy will differ depending on whether Jupiter is transiting the Gemini portion of Punarvasu or the Cancer portion. From August 12 to October 18, 2025, and again from December 5, 2025, to June 2, 2026, Jupiter will be in Gemini, an enemy sign. While this position might create some friction in terms of dignity, the higher wisdom of Jupiter still works powerfully in the Gemini portion through knowledge-based guidance, counseling, and communication-driven healing. The focus during this phase will be more on logical solutions, strategic rehabilitation, mental wellness, education reforms, social outreach programs, and spiritual counseling. From October 18 to December 5, 2025, and again from June 2 to June 18, 2026, Jupiter will be in the Cancer section of Punarvasu, where Jupiter is exalted. This will likely be the most auspicious and transformative phase of the entire transit. Jupiter in Cancer intensifies the emotional and nurturing side of Punarvasu. Here, themes such as home, emotional safety, motherhood, nourishment, and compassionate caregiving will come to the forefront. This period may witness emotional healing on a mass level, whether through healing relationships, reconnecting with family, reviving cultural roots, or expanding welfare-based projects. It's also an excellent time for those in the fields of psychology, holistic healing, education, and spiritual care to see immense growth and responsibility. The retrograde motion of Jupiter starting on November 11, 2025, adds another layer of introspection to this transit. Retrograde planets often demand a reevaluation of our beliefs, faith systems, and life philosophies. Jupiter retrograding in Cancer, until it returns to Gemini on December 5, 2025, may bring a sense of emotional reevaluation. People may feel the need to redefine what security, home, and faith truly mean to them. Once Jupiter retrogrades into Gemini and remains there until March 11, 2026, a wave of mental reprogramming, rethinking, and reflection may occur on how to approach growth, expansion, and recovery. During this entire retrograde period, many may return to unfinished spiritual practices, revisit old mentors, or reconnect with previous aspirations and philosophies they had abandoned. Punarvasu is the nakshatra of the second chance, and Jupiter's slow and deliberate motion through it gives the opportunity to not only dream again but to act on what once seemed like a failed pursuit. It is the phoenix moment in the zodiac when the wisdom gathered through suffering is now integrated into a more peaceful, mature perspective. Healing is not just about recovering physically, it's about realigning one's life path with a higher vision. This is the gift Jupiter brings during this time. For many, it will feel like destiny is offering a quiet but unmistakable push to get back on track, to write again, teach again, love again, believe again. Jupiter in Punarvasu can also amplify spiritual exploration. The nakshatra is inherently philosophical and inward-facing, and Jupiter only magnifies this tendency. Meditation retreats, spiritual travels, pilgrimages, or deeper engagement with scriptures, astrology, or metaphysics may become more common. People may start viewing the world not through a lens of success or failure, but through the understanding of soul evolution and karmic redemption. Because of the dual nature of Punarvasu, this transit may also bring a reconciliation between the material and the spiritual dimensions of life. Relationships may undergo significant revision under this transit. The idea of reunion, healing after separation, or coming back to the same person but with new understanding aligns with Punarvasu's narrative of what is lost returns. The lessons of detachment, emotional maturity, and forgiveness will be tested. For some, this may be a time when they finally release karmic baggage tied to old relationships. For others, it may bring a second chance in love, partnership, or even marriage. In either case, Jupiter's influence will seek to restore dignity, faith, and moral alignment in the realm of human connection. To assess the impact of this transit, it's crucial to consider your ascendant and moon signs. The ascendant sign provides insights into the timing of life events, while the moon sign reveals how you'll emotionally respond to these changes. Consider the position of your current Maha-Dasha lord in your birth chart, as it can shed light on how these transits will influence the recurring themes of your current Dasha period. The specific area of life where changes are likely to occur depends on the placement of Ardra Nakshatra in an individual's chart. For instance, if Punarvasu falls in career-oriented houses, results may manifest in career matters. Conversely, if Gemini or Cancer is one of relationship-oriented houses, results may manifest in relationship matters. This insight helps individuals navigate the potential areas of significant changes during this transit. A more precise understanding of the impact of this transit can be gained by examining Jupiter's Ashtaka Varga score in Gemini and Cancer. Keep in mind that the effects of this transit will differ from person to person, contingent on Jupiter's interaction with the planets in their individual birth charts, or its transit through the zodiac. It's also worth noting that individuals currently experiencing the influence of Jupiter Dasha may feel the effects of this transit more intensely. To understand how this transit may affect you based on your zodiac sign and the houses it transits, let's delve into those specifics. For Aries, as Jupiter enters Punarvasu Nakshatra, it activates a deeply transformative yet stabilizing phase. This nakshatra, governed by Jupiter itself, stretches across the signs of Gemini and Cancer, activating your 3rd and 4th houses respectively. For you, Jupiter governs the 9th house of destiny, higher wisdom, dharma, and fortune, as well as the 12th house of moksha, foreign lands, isolation, and liberation. This dual rulership means that this transit will not only test your beliefs and mental patterns, but also open portals for emotional release, mental clarity, and reconnection with your inner compass. With Punarvasu's core theme being a return to light after a period of fragmentation, this journey offers both intellectual rejuvenation and emotional healing. The transit begins with Jupiter moving through the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, your 3rd house, highlighting themes around courage, communication, effort, younger siblings, short-distance travel, and learning new skills. Jupiter here revitalizes your mental outlook. If your mind has been restless, scattered, or unsure in recent months, this period helps realign your thinking and brings in clarity. Because Punarvasu is a nakshatra of return, you may revisit old subjects, skills, or creative interests you once abandoned. Writing, speaking, digital content creation, or networking may suddenly pull your attention again. This could also be a good time to restart a passion project or blog, pick up a musical instrument, or rejoin a class you left midway. This house also governs communication with siblings and neighbors. There could be a revival of contact with people from your childhood or those with whom you had unresolved conversations. Jupiter's wisdom helps you approach these interactions with maturity and understanding. You might find yourself reflecting on your ability to articulate ideas and desires, especially if you've previously struggled to be heard or misunderstood in familial or professional settings. This is a period to reestablish the courage to speak your truth, not aggressively but with clarity and grace. The 3rd house also rules one's willpower and initiative. For Aries individuals, already inclined toward action, this transit refines your instinctive responses. It's less about impulsive doing and more about purposeful effort. Jupiter will assist in transforming scattered mental energy into directed, meaningful expression. From October 18, 2025, Jupiter enters the Cancer portion of Punarvasu and shifts into your 4th house. Here, the planet is exalted and expresses its highest qualities: nurturance, wisdom, stability, and spiritual depth. The 4th house represents emotional security, home, family roots, inner peace, and one's relationship with the mother or maternal lineage. As Jupiter settles here, you may feel a powerful urge to return to your inner sanctuary. Whether through redecoration, relocating, reconnecting with family, or delving into ancestral patterns, there is a desire to find what truly grounds you. Jupiter's exaltation ensures that this isn't just an emotional journey, it's a spiritually guided one. You may also experience an increase in domestic happiness or stability after a period of inner or outer chaos. For some, this may involve repairing a strained family relationship or moving into a space that finally feels like home. Punarvasu, being a nakshatra of renewal, can also indicate the return to one's native land after time away or a reconnection with traditional values that were once rejected. The emotional healing that happens now is not superficial. It touches your roots, what you define as your emotional truth, and may inspire changes in how you handle responsibility, relationships, and solitude. If you've been feeling emotionally fragmented or spiritually lost, Jupiter in the 4th house provides the space to realign yourself. Practices like meditation, or simply spending more time in a peaceful environment become vital sources of emotional replenishment. The 12th house connection, as Jupiter rules it, adds a mystical or otherworldly undertone. You're being guided by something beyond reason or logic. Trust the signs, dreams, and inner nudges that arise. These are messages from the subconscious, asking you to release old pain and rediscover your balance. On November 11, 2025, Jupiter begins its retrograde in Cancer, intensifying the need for internal reflection. Emotional themes become more prominent now. If you had earlier ignored or bypassed your feelings, retrograde Jupiter will gently nudge you to slow down and process unresolved emotions. The past might revisit you through memories, encounters, or even sudden shifts in your family dynamics. But these are not setbacks. They're part of the Punarvasu promise. What was broken can be healed. During this phase, you may also find yourself becoming more philosophical about your emotional responses, asking deeper questions like, what defines home for me? Why do I crave security in certain ways? Am I emotionally self-reliant, or do I lean on people or patterns that limit me? This retrograde phase continues until March 11, 2026. During this time, Jupiter re-enters Gemini on December 5th, moving back into your 3rd house and reopening the themes of communication, thought patterns, and personal will. This time around, you return with more emotional awareness and spiritual maturity. You may revise a decision made earlier this year, refine a project, or rethink your communication strategy in relationships or work. This is an ideal period to take a short retreat, travel to a familiar place that holds emotional significance, or spend time alone to recalibrate. You may also feel a strong connection to spiritual teachings or texts from the past, as the retrograde Jupiter brings a desire to reread or relearn something from a deeper perspective. As Jupiter turns direct again in March 2026, you'll sense an energetic shift, like the fog lifting after a long emotional winter. Your heart feels lighter, and your thoughts sharper. And finally, when Jupiter moves back into Cancer in the 4th house on June 2nd, and remains there until June 18th while completing its passage through Punarvasu, a phase of completion occurs. You'll realize how much you've matured emotionally, how your definition of home has evolved, and how your mental and emotional bodies now function more harmoniously. This integration brings peace and a sense of emotional alignment, especially important for Aries individuals who often operate from the head and muscles more than the heart. Jupiter's role as the 9th and 12th house lord amplifies the spiritual aspect of this transit. You are not just making emotional or domestic changes, you are preparing yourself for a new destiny. Your worldview is shifting, your faith is recalibrating, and your inner compass is becoming more attuned to subtle truths. If you've been confused about your life path, especially in terms of spiritual calling, vocation, or karmic lessons, this transit gently clears the clutter. You may start seeing your challenges through a wider lens, not as punishments, but as part of a training to return you to your authentic self. Professionally, while this period may not bring aggressive career moves, it can sow the seeds for future success by grounding you emotionally and intellectually. Once you are more centered within yourself, decisions made afterward will come from clarity rather than fear or impulsiveness. Financially too, this phase may encourage subtle but meaningful decisions like investing in property, paying attention to family inheritance, or donating to a cause close to your heart. Overall, Jupiter's transit through Punarvasu for Aries is like a gentle rain after a long dry spell. It doesn't arrive with thunder or drama, but it nourishes the soil of your mind and heart. It invites you to slow down, reconnect with lost pieces of yourself, and prepare for the next leap, not with force, but with wisdom. Whether it's mending a broken emotional bond, reigniting a forgotten idea, or rediscovering what truly feels like home, this is your moment of return. Jupiter doesn't just expand, it restores. Taurus individuals will step into a phase of profound inner and outer realignment, particularly around speech, values, wealth, family, and communication, when Jupiter shifts into Punarvasu Nakshatra. Since Punarvasu is ruled by Jupiter himself and falls across Gemini, your 2nd house, and Cancer, your 3rd house, the themes of communication, knowledge, expression, effort, and nourishment dominate. For Taurus, Jupiter is the lord of the 8th and 11th houses, two powerful yet complex houses linked with deep transformations, social, and financial aspirations. As such, this transit isn't a shallow wave. It's a tide pulling you inward to clear outdated beliefs around security, and pulling you outward toward more evolved ways of expressing your truth and attracting abundance. Jupiter's presence in the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, beginning in your second house, casts a spotlight on your financial world, speech, personal values, and immediate family dynamics. This phase invites you to reassess how you earn and save money, how you communicate within your family, and most importantly, how your words carry your personal truth. Since the second house deals with accumulated wealth and Jupiter governs the 8th, sudden gains, hidden wealth, and 11th, long-term earnings and profits, you may see monetary fluctuations, some rewarding, others revealing where restructuring is necessary. There is also a karmic theme here. Are you clinging to material security at the expense of inner peace? Punarvasu's energy is not about acquisition but restoration. It helps you reclaim lost ground, whether in terms of money, respect, or values, and brings you back to your center after periods of instability. If you've faced financial uncertainty or family tensions, this transit can mend those cracks gently. You may regain money that was stuck, find new support systems, or make a significant breakthrough through an investment, insurance, inheritance, or passive income tied to your 8th house affairs. Jupiter in this nakshatra refines your speech and encourages you to align your communication with deeper truth and spiritual wisdom. It's a favorable time for those involved in public speaking, singing, writing, or any profession where the power of voice holds value. Your tone softens, and your words begin to carry more influence, especially if you have previously struggled to be heard within your family or community. As Jupiter moves into Cancer, exalted, and the 3rd house, which occurs from October 18, 2025, the narrative shifts to how you use your mental willpower, effort, and communication tools. This marks a powerful phase of rebuilding your motivation. The 3rd house, being the natural house of Gemini, aligns well with Punarvasu's dual nature. You go back to forgotten skills, revisit past ideas, and reconstruct your relationship with courage, effort, and creative expression. This is a good time to restart an old blog, business, or study, especially something you previously abandoned due to fear or confusion. Jupiter brings clarity and higher perspective, while Punarvasu helps you return to those goals from a more mature place. Your writing, communication, or even your ability to engage with others intellectually gets a significant boost. Relationships with younger siblings may also see healing or reconnection after misunderstandings. Jupiter, as the 11th lord, moving through your 3rd house, encourages networking and collaborations. But this time, you are being guided to move toward meaningful connections, not superficial circles. You may attract mentors, co-creators, or even clients who are spiritually aligned with your path. It's less about numbers now and more about soul resonance. Financially, your efforts in business, freelance work, writing, marketing, or teaching may start showing promising results. Another powerful undertone is the influence of Jupiter as the 8th house lord transiting the 3rd. You may feel drawn to occult studies, esoteric communication, mysticism, or hidden knowledge systems. Some Taurus individuals may even explore astrology, tantra, healing, or psychological introspection. You're not just communicating now, you're channeling a deeper wisdom, especially when Jupiter enters the final pada of Punarvasu, which aligns with Pushya energy toward the end of its transit. A transformative window opens when Jupiter goes retrograde on November 11, 2025 in Cancer, remaining retrograde until March 11, 2026. During this phase, the themes of effort, mental rewiring, emotional willpower, and how you use your voice are deeply internalized. You may find yourself reassessing your relationships with siblings, revisiting how you've communicated your needs or desires, or recognizing where fear has blocked your courage to act. You may even have to take a few steps back in a project or conversation, not as failure but as an opportunity to refine. Retrograde Jupiter reconnects you to something from the past, a skill, a person, or a thought pattern, and allows you to see it through new eyes. This internal process is invaluable because it rewires the subtle circuits of the mind. The 3rd house is the house of mental valor, and you are being taught now that true courage is not bravado. It is authentic action grounded in clarity. As Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini in the 2nd house on December 5, 2025, these themes consolidate around financial and familial matters once again. This could bring the resolution of old debts, monetary or emotional, a review of investments, or deep reflection about your family's legacy and your values. Use this period to restructure finances wisely, engage in difficult but healing family conversations, and revisit plans that stalled earlier. The influence of the 8th house lord can sometimes bring up secrets, or old karmas related to finances or speech. Pay close attention to what resurfaces. When Jupiter turns direct again in March 2026, you'll feel a renewed clarity about what your true values are, what you are willing to work for, stand up for, and express openly. The financial seeds planted during the retrograde will now slowly begin to show tangible results. Your speech will carry more weight, your self-worth feels rooted, and your daily efforts align more with your deeper aspirations. This is further magnified when Jupiter finally returns to Cancer in your third house again on June 2, 2026, where it wraps up its journey through Punarvasu by June 18, 2026. This entire cycle, from outer expression to inner reworking and then reintegration, gives Taurus individuals a rare chance to reset their entire value and expression system. The return of lost skills, money, relationships, or even self-esteem is not accidental, it is a gift of Punarvasu. Jupiter, being the planet of blessings, works silently during this transit, sometimes by withdrawing noise and chaos so you can hear your own truth more clearly. Overall, Jupiter's transit in Punarvasu for Taurus people is less about dramatic changes and more about restorative growth. It is the quiet healing of the voice, the gentle rebuilding of faith in your own values, and the slow return to courage after confusion. Whether through reviving an old relationship, regaining financial clarity, or expressing yourself with renewed depth, this journey brings you back to yourself, wiser, clearer, and more powerful. For Gemini, the forthcoming Jupiter transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra marks a period of significant personal and professional transformation. Punarvasu, a nakshatra governed by Jupiter itself, spans across late Gemini and early Cancer, and carries the theme of renewal, restoration, and return to a place of emotional and spiritual alignment. For Gemini individuals, Jupiter governs the 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and contracts, and the 10th house of career, status, and worldly achievements. During this period, Jupiter will be transiting your 1st and 2nd houses, which directly shape your identity, physical health, personality, speech, finances, and sense of self-worth. This combination offers a rare opportunity to align your outer achievements with inner growth. As Jupiter begins its transit through the Gemini portion of Punarvasu on August 12th, it is in the 1st house, the house that represents your self-image, body, approach to life, and how you initiate action. While Jupiter is not inherently strong in Gemini due to its mercurial nature, its transit through a nakshatra it rules adds a spiritually expansive influence to your thoughts, intentions, and overall approach to the world. You may find yourself seeking greater meaning in your life, and even if external circumstances haven't yet changed, your internal compass begins to realign. There's a powerful sense of emerging from confusion, as Punarvasu follows Ardra, a nakshatra associated with storms and upheaval. In this way, the Jupiter Punarvasu phase brings a renewed sense of clarity and purpose after a long internal storm or existential questioning. This is a time when your self-identity undergoes reconstruction. Old masks may fall away as you feel compelled to embrace more authenticity. Jupiter's influence can make you more optimistic and generous in your self-expression, and your presence will likely feel more uplifting to others. People may look to you for guidance, particularly in your personal or professional circles. Since Jupiter rules your 7th house, there could be important developments in partnerships, both personal and professional. You may attract wise mentors, advisors, or significant romantic partners during this time. If you're already in a committed relationship, this period might prompt deeper conversations about long-term goals and the direction of your shared life. The 1st house transit also encourages physical healing and rejuvenation. Punarvasu's symbolism of returning light is evident in your health routines. If you've strayed from your well-being path, you may now feel ready to get back into shape, eat better, or revive long-forgotten self-care practices. Spiritually, this is a phase of inner integration. You are not trying to become someone new but rather rediscover the version of yourself that was always authentic yet temporarily obscured. On October 18, 2025, Jupiter enters Cancer, its sign of exaltation, and moves into the 2nd house of your chart. This is a highly auspicious transit, as Jupiter now operates from a position of strength. The 2nd house governs your accumulated wealth, speech, family values, dietary habits, and personal security. The emphasis now shifts towards stabilizing your resources and grounding your sense of self-worth. Financial growth is highly likely during this phase, especially if you've been working steadily on long-term projects or have invested in skills related to speaking, teaching, media, or writing. Jupiter, ruling your 10th house of career, now influences the sector of wealth accumulation, indicating that your professional success can translate directly into material gain. Family matters also come into focus, especially themes around legacy, ancestral lineage, and generational wealth or traditions. Jupiter in the Cancer portion of Punarvasu enhances the nurturing side of your personality. You may find yourself more connected to your roots, or more involved in family matters such as caregiving, home improvement, or financial planning for dependents. Conversations with family members may carry more emotional weight, and if there have been unresolved disputes, this could be a healing window to bring clarity and closure. Since Jupiter also rules your 7th house, partnerships may now play a direct role in supporting or challenging your financial stability. Joint investments or decisions made with a spouse or business partner need to be approached with maturity and long-term planning. An important shift occurs on November 11, 2025, when Jupiter turns retrograde in Cancer. Retrograde motion is a call to slow down and reevaluate. For Gemini individuals, this could manifest as revisiting past financial decisions, reevaluating speech habits, or reconsidering how you've been expressing your values. Old patterns related to self-worth or overdependence on external validation may come into awareness now. Jupiter retrograde in the 2nd house can also bring opportunities to recover lost resources, be it money, forgotten talents, or family heirlooms. You may also be drawn to reconnect with old friends or colleagues who can offer valuable insights or collaborations. During this retrograde phase, Jupiter offers inner wisdom more than external growth. Your focus should be on redefining what abundance means to you, both materially and emotionally. On December 5, 2025, Jupiter moves back into Gemini, re-entering your 1st house. This return signals a review of identity themes you began exploring in August. Perhaps the optimistic vision you had for yourself now requires deeper integration. This second passage through the 1st house encourages greater self-reflection, not to undo progress, but to fine-tune your direction. You may go through a period of self-doubt, but ultimately this is meant to clarify your purpose, strengthen your confidence, and ensure your external life reflects your inner truth. You might also become more introspective or quieter in your presence, not because you're shrinking, but because you're consolidating strength and maturity. Once Jupiter turns direct on March 11, 2026, the pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place. You're likely to emerge from this inner journey with more certainty about your life direction and renewed energy to act on it. Professional and personal relationships also begin to move forward more easily. If you've been unsure about a collaboration or commitment, clarity will arrive in the months following Jupiter's direct motion. By this time, people may notice a new charisma or leadership quality in you, especially in situations that demand emotional intelligence and thoughtful decision-making. As Jupiter re-enters Cancer on June 2, 2026, the transit nears its end, bringing closure to lessons involving self-worth, finances, family bonds, and long-term values. You may experience tangible rewards for your earlier introspection, financial gains, stable relationships, or personal accomplishments that align with your long-held goals. This is also a powerful time to focus on creating emotional and material security, not through force but through wisdom and alignment. The nurturing side of Cancer, supported by exalted Jupiter, helps you make decisions that are emotionally satisfying as well as practical. Whether you're building a home, supporting loved ones, or saving for the future, your actions now reflect both maturity and purpose. Overall, the Jupiter transit through Punarvasu is a deeply transformative phase for Gemini individuals. It is not merely about material expansion but about rediscovering who you truly are, and aligning your relationships, career, and finances with that authentic self. Jupiter's rulership over your 7th and 10th houses means people and profession remain central themes, but the real work lies in integrating external success with inner harmony. You are being asked to remember who you were before the confusion began, and to return to that place with greater wisdom and strength. For Cancer, the Jupiter transit into Punarvasu Nakshatra sets into motion a transformative chapter. Punarvasu, ruled by Jupiter itself, carries themes of restoration, spiritual awakening, and new beginnings after a period of disruption. It spans the latter part of Gemini and the early degrees of Cancer, symbolically moving from endings to emergence. Jupiter, being the natural significator of wisdom, growth, and dharma, governs the 6th and 9th houses for Cancer rising individuals, houses associated with duty, service, discipline, daily work, higher knowledge, and fortune. During this transit, Jupiter will move through your 12th house and then enter your 1st house, signaling a period where both internal withdrawal and external rebirth are deeply interwoven. The initial phase of this transit occurs in the Gemini portion of Punarvasu Nakshatra, which is in your 12th house, the domain of isolation, spiritual retreat, endings, subconscious patterns, long-distance travel, and expenses. Jupiter's presence in this part of your chart urges you to pull back from worldly distractions and shift your gaze inward. This is a karmic clearing phase, where the soul seeks to dissolve its attachments and reset its compass toward higher truths. You may feel an instinctive withdrawal from social circles or a desire to spend more time alone. This isn't escapism, it's a sacred pause before a profound inner rebirth. Meditation, spiritual studies, foreign journeys, or even a sabbatical from the usual grind could call your attention. Since Jupiter rules your 6th house of debts, illnesses, daily routine, and conflict, its transit through the May 12th bring resolution or culmination to long-pending health or legal matters. Some Cancer individuals may find that their efforts to resolve disputes finally lead to peace. For others, there may be hospital visits, either to heal or to assist someone else, or expenses connected to wellness and recovery. The 12th house is also linked with charity and selfless service, and with Jupiter here, you may be drawn toward humanitarian work, volunteering, or acts of compassion that have no expectation of return. What you give in this period, emotionally or materially, comes back to you in more profound, intangible ways. Simultaneously, Jupiter also rules your 9th house, the realm of Dharma, higher knowledge, belief systems, and guidance from mentors. As it traverses your 12th house, it stimulates a deep reassessment of your beliefs and philosophies. You might seek out esoteric knowledge, revisit your relationship with faith, or find new sources of guidance through dreams, teachers, or travels abroad. Guru-like figures may enter your life, not necessarily as formal teachers, but as individuals who shift your inner narrative and help you see your life path from a new perspective. This is a period of unseen blessings, divine help working behind the scenes to clear the old and prepare you for a more aligned future. Then on October 18th, 2025, Jupiter enters Cancer, its sign of exaltation, and moves into your 1st house. This marks a dramatic shift in energy. After months of introspection, seclusion, and karmic dissolution, you now step into the light with a renewed sense of self. The 1st house governs your identity, appearance, confidence, health, and personal will. With Jupiter now exalted in your 1st house and transiting its own nakshatra, you are likely to feel an upsurge of hope, purpose, and expansive energy. Others notice your presence more clearly. You exude wisdom, compassion, and optimism, and this becomes a period of natural magnetism. People may be drawn to your insights, your leadership, or your quiet strength. This transit through the Cancer section of Punarvasu reawakens your deepest emotional integrity. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself or explain your path to others. There's an inner security blooming, rooted in the deep work you've done during Jupiter's time in your 12th house. Your spiritual and emotional foundations become stronger, and now you can build upon them in tangible ways. Whether you're launching a new personal venture, starting a health regime, expressing your authentic self, or simply embracing more joy, this phase helps you reconnect with who you are at the soul level. Jupiter's connection to your 6th house still brings some grounding to this growth. While you're feeling expansive and self-assured, you're also reminded to stay disciplined in your routines and committed to service. If you've been facing health issues in the past, this transit often brings rejuvenation and healing. Those struggling with legal or workplace tensions could see favorable outcomes now. In fact, you may find that adversaries soften or that conflicts resolve without much resistance. The retrograde motion of Jupiter, beginning on November 11, 2025, adds another layer of depth. Jupiter will remain in Cancer, but its backward motion invites a pause and reevaluation. This is not regression but refinement. Now, the universe wants to see whether your outward confidence is truly rooted in inner transformation. During the retrograde period, you may revisit questions around your health, your life purpose, or your alignment with Dharma. Old insecurities may resurface, not to destabilize you, but to offer closure. This is also a good time to reconnect with old mentors, teachers, or inner practices that once brought you clarity. On December 5, 2025, Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini and returns to your 12th house. This re-entry into the subconscious waters is not a setback, but a necessary inner check. You may once again feel called to solitude, silence, or deep spiritual inquiry. Dreams may become more vivid, and emotional memories from the past might rise to the surface. Financially, expenses could increase briefly, especially for travel, health, or spiritual commitments, but you are likely to handle them with maturity and foresight. Avoid escapism or overindulgence during this period, as Jupiter's retrograde can sometimes exaggerate your desire to avoid confrontation with inner wounds. This is also when the greatest healing can occur. You are completing an important karmic loop. Then, as Jupiter turns direct on March 11, 2026, the emotional fog starts to lift. You re-emerge once more, but now with the clarity of hindsight. Lessons from both isolation and self-expression begin to make sense. You may feel more connected to your inner wisdom and more grounded in your outer life. When Jupiter re-enters Cancer on June 2, 2026, it stabilizes its presence in your 1st house, and you're likely to feel fully recharged, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. This entire transit is deeply significant for your long-term journey. It marks a transition from dissolution to rebirth, from letting go to stepping up. The dual influence of Jupiter over your 6th and 9th houses means you are being shaped to serve a higher purpose, but through consistent effort, humility, and alignment with your beliefs. Relationships may evolve, and so will your connection to your own body, values, and life direction. For those pursuing spiritual goals, this is an especially ripe time for breakthroughs, realizations, and enlightenment. Overall, Jupiter's journey through Punarvasu Nakshatra for Cancer individuals is not just about external success. It is about remembering who you truly are, underneath the social roles, emotional patterns, and karmic debts. You are coming home to yourself, slowly but surely, as the storms clear and the light returns. Punarvasu's power lies in restoration, and this transit will gently guide you from endings to new beginnings, ensuring that your outer world eventually reflects the soul's deeper wisdom. For Leo, the Jupiter transit into Punarvasu Nakshatra marks a deeply layered and karmically rich period. Punarvasu, a nakshatra symbolizing restoration, hope, and the return of light after darkness, is especially potent due to its rulership by Jupiter itself, the very planet transiting it. Spread across Gemini and Cancer, this nakshatra bridges the intellectual world of ideas and communication, Gemini, with the emotional and intuitive realm of nurturing and security, Cancer. For Leo individuals, Jupiter governs the 5th house of creativity, children, romance, and intelligence, as well as the 8th house of transformation, secrets, shared resources, and spiritual awakening. This transit is in your 11th and 12th houses, signaling a phase that oscillates between worldly gains and inner detachment, community involvement and solitude, material growth and spiritual shedding. As Jupiter begins its movement through the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, your 11th house is lit up, a sector concerned with long-term goals, social networks, recognition, financial profits, and the fulfillment of desires. The early phase of this transit may bring expansion and hope around your ambitions. Whether you're pursuing a professional goal, launching a project, or networking within influential circles, the presence of Jupiter here provides the backing of luck, optimism, and the wisdom to make long-term choices. You may find new allies, mentors, or support groups who resonate with your ideas and contribute meaningfully to your future vision. Since Jupiter rules your 5th house, themes of creativity, education, speculative ventures, and romantic interests blend seamlessly into this phase. It's an auspicious time for Leos involved in creative industries, content creation, arts, or education. Your ability to express yourself in a way that resonates with the public or a wider audience is heightened. Romantic relationships that begin during this time could feel meaningful and optimistic, and those already in love may consider taking steps toward commitment. If you've been planning to have children or expand your family, this transit could bring divine timing into play. Simultaneously, your ideas and innovations may now start bearing fruit or gain visibility in the outer world. At the same time, Jupiter's rulership of the 8th house adds a layer of depth and unpredictability to this transit. Gains may come through sudden changes, inheritances, insurance, bonuses, or other sources outside of regular income. There could also be psychological breakthroughs, especially through community engagement or healing through group therapy, spiritual associations, or collective work. The 8th house influence also implies that while gains and recognition may come, they may be accompanied by internal upheavals, spiritual awakenings, or events that push you to look at the underlying truth of your motivations. Not everything will be smooth, but even disruption here is designed to break stagnancy and stimulate soul evolution. As Jupiter enters Cancer on October 18, 2025, and shifts into the 12th house, the tone of the transit becomes more introspective and spiritually charged. The 12th house is a place of endings, liberation, solitude, foreign travel, and moksha, spiritual freedom. Jupiter, exalted in Cancer, feels powerful here, but in a subtle, ethereal way. This phase is not about loud success or outer validation. It's about connecting with something beyond the material world. You may feel drawn towards spiritual studies, meditation, or travel to distant lands for peace and reflection. This is also a time when you may want to retreat from external noise and turn your focus inward. The influence of the 5th house lord in the 12th could stir profound intuitive or even psychic experiences. Your dreams may become more vivid, and inner creativity could flourish in silence. Some Leos may even feel the call to document their spiritual experiences through writing, poetry, or art. Relationships during this time may take on a quieter, more devotional quality. You may feel more deeply connected to the idea of soulmates or divine unions, especially if you're already in a spiritually aligned relationship. The 8th house connection, again, indicates that this isn't merely a peaceful retreat. It's a time of shedding illusions, facing what's hidden, and transforming your understanding of life and death, intimacy, and power. You might find yourself letting go of old emotional attachments, addictions, or fears. Financially, the 12th house can indicate expenses, especially those related to travel, health, or spiritual matters. But because Jupiter is exalted, such expenses are likely to serve a greater purpose. Think of this as an investment in your soul's evolution. What you spend now, you are likely to gain back in karmic dividends later. As Jupiter turns retrograde on November 11, 2025, the inner themes become even more emphasized. This retrograde motion encourages a reevaluation of your spiritual values, emotional security, and subconscious patterns. You may find yourself reflecting on questions such as, what do I truly believe in? Are my relationships based on egoic need? During this retrograde phase, you may also revisit past ideas, old mentors, or forgotten spiritual practices that once helped you heal. This is a powerful time to correct your course if you've strayed too far from your inner compass. On December 5, 2025, Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini, revisiting your 11th house. This brief return to the previous sign and house gives you a second chance to refine your plans, revisit unfulfilled goals, and reconnect with people or groups who may have drifted away earlier in the year. Perhaps certain dreams were not ready to manifest before, but now with deeper awareness, they can be pursued again from a more grounded place. This is also a good time to clean up social dynamics, set healthy boundaries in friendships, or step back from communities that no longer align with your evolving self. When Jupiter stations direct on March 11, 2026, clarity begins to emerge again. You start feeling more aligned with your future vision while still carrying the wisdom you gained during your inner retreat. Finally, as Jupiter re-enters Cancer on June 2, 2026, it completes the last leg of this Punarvasu-based journey through your 12th house. By this time, you're likely to have experienced both external accomplishments and internal purification. You emerge with greater peace, emotional strength, and possibly a refined sense of purpose, ready for a new cycle when Jupiter eventually enters your own sign in 2026. Overall, Jupiter's transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra for Leo individuals is a dual dance between outer expansion and inner dissolution. It takes you from the excitement of hopes and dreams to the silence of spiritual surrender. Your ambitions are still alive, but they're now infused with meaning and purpose beyond material gain. Your relationships may mature, and your understanding of your own desires may deepen. It's a powerful time for Leos to balance the fire of their natural charisma with the wisdom of detachment and divine timing. For Virgo, the Jupiter transit into Punarvasu Nakshatra brings a multidimensional period of growth, realignment, and long-term fulfillment. Punarvasu, ruled by Jupiter itself, is a nakshatra of renewal, faith, and restoration after turbulence. Its presence across Gemini and Cancer signs means this transit will activate your 10th and 11th houses, two powerful houses linked to career, ambition, public image, success, networks, and desired achievements. For Virgo individuals, Jupiter governs your 4th house of emotional foundation, domestic life, and inner peace, as well as the 7th house of partnerships, marriage, and legal contracts. These intertwined influences suggest that this transit will deeply impact your professional reputation, social influence, and relationships, both personal and professional. As Jupiter begins its journey through the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, your 10th house of career and public life is highlighted. This is a powerful position for those aiming to establish themselves in the professional world, elevate their status, or take on leadership roles. You may find yourself gravitating toward roles with more authority or responsibility. Recognition from superiors, support from mentors, and public visibility can all increase during this time. Opportunities may arrive that allow you to use your wisdom, communication skills, and intellect to inspire others or guide teams. If you've been working behind the scenes, this is a period where your work could finally get the spotlight it deserves. Jupiter's rulership over your 7th house indicates that partnerships, whether business or marital, will play an instrumental role in shaping your professional life. You may receive important support from a spouse or a professional collaborator who becomes a key figure in your growth. For entrepreneurs, new contracts, alliances, and client relationships may expand. There is also a possibility of working with people from different cultural or philosophical backgrounds, given Jupiter's expansive and global nature. Your ability to form harmonious, mutually beneficial partnerships will likely be the cornerstone of any professional success during this period. Jupiter's association with the 4th house adds an emotional layer to this transit. You may feel a strong desire to find a sense of meaning in your work. Others may start exploring real estate investments connected to their profession, such as buying a commercial space or setting up a home office. This transit may also open the door to careers related to education, counseling, psychology, wellness, or spiritual teaching, especially if they allow you to serve others in a nurturing capacity. As Jupiter enters the Cancer portion of Punarvasu Nakshatra, starting October 18, 2025, its energies become more exalted and emotionally expansive. Now transiting your 11th house, this marks a major period for dreams manifesting into reality. The 11th house is the house of aspirations, social circles, community efforts, elder siblings, and financial profits from career. When Jupiter is in this position and exalted in Cancer, it blesses you with the capacity to fulfill long-standing goals, especially those that serve not only your own success but also benefit a larger community or collective. You may find yourself drawn toward humanitarian projects, teaching roles, or organizing group-based endeavors. Your influence in networks and social spaces could grow substantially. People may start seeing you as a thought leader, guide, or advisor. It's an especially strong period for Virgo individuals involved in NGOs, educational institutions, tech platforms, or spiritual groups. The friendships and alliances formed now can prove long-lasting, rooted in mutual growth and shared wisdom. For some Virgo individuals, an old friend or colleague could return into your life with an offer or opportunity that opens new doors. Financially, this can be one of the most promising phases in recent times. The 11th house governs gains and income from the 10th house of work, and with Jupiter's blessings, promotions, bonuses, and new income channels may start flowing. You may also feel inspired to use your wealth for higher causes, donating, funding community work, or supporting family members in need. Since the 4th house also rules your emotional security and real estate, profits now could be used to create a more stable home life or to invest in property that supports your long-term comfort and roots. The 7th house connection again suggests that people play an important role in your growth. Marriage prospects for singles could arrive through mutual social circles or online platforms. Those already in relationships may begin to work as a team towards shared dreams or business ventures. You might attend events, seminars, or group travels where you meet kindred spirits, people who help expand your vision. The emphasis here is on collaboration with purpose. It's not just about being liked, it's about aligning with people who elevate your path. The 11th house is also a house of detachment and objectivity. Jupiter's presence here, especially in exaltation, may also help you let go of toxic or draining social connections. You may begin to see which friendships no longer support your path, and without bitterness, choose to move on. This phase helps you refine your social landscape and make space for people who truly uplift your spirit and align with your deeper aspirations. As Jupiter turns retrograde on November 11, 2025, the expansive momentum takes a more introspective turn. This is a time to revisit your dreams, review your role in communities, and reflect on whether your ambitions still align with your evolving self. You may reevaluate your work-life balance, your social affiliations, or the nature of your closest collaborations. If you've set overly idealistic expectations, this retrograde helps ground your perspective. It may also bring back people or opportunities from the past that deserve a second look. On December 5, 2025, Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini and returns to your 10th house, offering a second wave of refinement to your career path. This re-entry gives you a chance to fix any mistakes, reconsider offers, or renegotiate contracts. You may be reassigned to an old role, revive an earlier project, or work with former mentors. The themes you dealt with during the first part of Jupiter's stay in Gemini may return with deeper clarity. You'll now be more aware of what roles feel aligned and which no longer serve your long-term vision. By the time Jupiter stations direct on March 11, 2026, you're likely to have achieved clarity about your professional trajectory, social standing, and ideal collaborations. And when Jupiter re-enters Cancer on June 2, 2026, it initiates the final phase of dream fulfillment, deepening your connection with meaningful communities and helping you realize long-cherished goals. Overall, Jupiter's transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra for Virgo individuals offers an incredibly rich blend of personal and professional growth. It enhances your standing in society, strengthens your public image, and brings long-awaited gains, both material and emotional. But what makes this transit truly significant is its invitation to align outer success with inner values. Through wise collaborations, purpose-driven goals, and emotional integrity, you're poised to manifest a life that not only shines outwardly but also nourishes you at the core. For Libra, the Jupiter transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra holds transformative potential, particularly in the domains of higher learning, dharma, authority, and profession. Jupiter, the natural planet of wisdom, expansion, and benevolence, rules your 3rd house of effort, skills, courage, and short travels, as well as your 6th house of health, service, debts, and daily routines. This complex rulership brings an interesting duality. On one hand, activating discipline and competition, and on the other, expanding your perspective, ambitions, and career goals as it transits through the 9th and 10th houses, 2 of the most powerful houses in a chart. As Jupiter begins its journey through the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, it is in your 9th house of higher philosophy, long-distance travel, mentorship, belief systems, and luck. This shift encourages a mental and spiritual expansion. You may find yourself questioning or revising long-held beliefs, moving toward a more inclusive or evolved worldview. It's a time when new teachers, spiritual guides, or even unfamiliar cultures and ideologies could significantly impact your life direction. For Libra individuals engaged in academics, legal studies, publishing, or spiritual disciplines, this period could bring breakthroughs, certifications, or opportunities to teach or mentor others. Since Jupiter also governs your third house, this transit highlights a strong connection between effort and destiny. Initiatives you take during this period, whether it's starting a blog, publishing your research, learning a new language, or launching a content platform, could align with a larger life mission. Siblings may also play a more active role during this time, possibly becoming a bridge to opportunities involving travel, education, or creative ventures. There may also be short journeys that prove to be life-changing, either because of whom you meet or what insights you gain along the way. Jupiter's rulership over the sixth house of obstacles, rivals, and service suggests that some of your growth during this transit will come through dealing with challenges that require faith and resilience. You may encounter situations that test your ethics, your patience, or your ability to stand your ground diplomatically. Jupiter being in the house of Dharma encourages righteous conduct and moral clarity. Those who are involved in law, judiciary, NGOs, or teaching may rise in their stature because of their principles and integrity. Any legal or immigration matters pending may see progress after August 2025, especially if handled in an honest and ethical way. Then, as Jupiter enters the Cancer portion of Punarvasu Nakshatra after October 18, 2025, it moves into exaltation and begins transiting your 10th house of karma, career, reputation, and public achievements. This marks a particularly potent phase for your professional journey. Jupiter exalted in the 10th house brings both recognition and responsibility. You may find yourself in leadership roles, administrative positions, or advisory capacities where your guidance is sought and respected. This is the kind of transit that favors promotions, career-defining decisions, or shifts toward more purpose-aligned vocations. You may finally feel that your professional life is not just about earning, but also about making a meaningful impact. Libra individuals working in fields such as media, public relations, education, law, healthcare, or philosophy may thrive during this time. You may be drawn to public speaking, content creation, or teaching roles that allow you to reach a wider audience. Since Jupiter also governs the sixth house, you are also likely to gain victories over professional competition or resolve past workplace conflicts through maturity and negotiation. It is also possible that past karmic efforts now bear fruit in the form of promotions, job offers from prestigious institutions, or increased visibility and respect in your field. The influence of the third house again becomes important as it energizes your communication style and leadership approach. You'll be seen as someone who combines practicality with a philosophical mindset. If you're a business owner, your enterprise could attract wider clientele or branch out internationally. If you're employed, you might be asked to train others, travel for business, or represent your company in global settings. Your words carry weight during this time, so your social media presence, marketing content, or even casual communications can impact your career more than you realize. There's also a subtle but significant shift in how you relate to authority figures. You may form mentorship relationships with elders or superiors who guide your path. Conversely, if you're in a position of power, you may become a mentor to others, offering guidance and wisdom rather than merely supervision. Your role in the larger professional ecosystem is changing, becoming more aligned with leadership through inspiration rather than control. On the family front, the 10th house also represents the father or paternal figures. Relationships with father-like mentors or actual father figures may come into focus. Some Libra individuals may find resolution in strained dynamics, while others may step up to shoulder responsibilities traditionally held by their parents. In some cases, this could manifest as taking over a family business or receiving generational support to enhance your career growth. As Jupiter turns retrograde on November 11, 2025, you'll enter a phase of inner reassessment. This period invites you to reflect on your ambitions and achievements. Are you walking your true path, or merely pursuing what appears successful on the surface? Retrograde Jupiter helps you tune into whether your public identity truly reflects your personal values and long-term vision. You might review career decisions, refine your professional goals, or revise plans around travel, immigration, or higher studies. Past mentors or bosses may reappear with new perspectives or opportunities. The retrograde will take Jupiter back into Gemini on December 5, 2025, bringing renewed focus to the 9th house. Now, the emphasis shifts from outward achievement to inward realignment. You may revisit educational pursuits, restart spiritual practices, or refine your personal belief systems. This return to Gemini offers a second chance to reconnect with life's deeper meaning, especially if professional life has become too mechanical or externally focused. If you've been planning a pilgrimage, long-distance move, or sabbatical, this phase may help you finalize those plans. When Jupiter turns direct on March 11, 2026, you begin to move forward again with greater clarity. You'll feel more in tune with your spiritual compass and confident in the path you've chosen. Finally, Jupiter re-enters Cancer on June 2nd, 2026, restoring its exalted position in your 10th house and initiating the final, most rewarding phase of your karmic and professional cycle. Projects may culminate with great success, long-term plans may fall into place, and your public reputation may solidify into something meaningful and enduring. Overall, Jupiter's transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra brings a blend of effort, elevation, and ethical realignment for Libra individuals. Your role in the world is changing, not only how others perceive you, but also how you perceive your place in the world. You're moving from effort-driven growth to faith-driven leadership. This period will challenge you to stay grounded, work diligently, and embrace higher principles even when tested. And in doing so, you'll rise in your career, expand your mind, and step into a more purpose-centered life, one where wisdom, responsibility, and success walk hand in hand. For Scorpio, the transit of Jupiter through Punarvasu Nakshatra initiates a deeply transformative phase. As Jupiter governs the second house of wealth, speech, family values, and accumulated resources, and the fifth house of intelligence, creativity, children, and past life merit, its movement through the eighth and ninth houses carries profound spiritual, financial, and karmic implications. This period will nudge you out of emotional stagnancy and intellectual complacency, pushing you into realms of mystery, healing, research, and philosophical growth. Initially, as Jupiter traverses the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, it is in your 8th house, a sector traditionally associated with transformations, inheritance, shared resources, occult sciences, and psychological rebirth. This transit may stir buried emotions, forgotten patterns, or unresolved karmas, either through realization or through unexpected life events. The 8th house is also linked with sudden changes and unpredictable circumstances, and with Jupiter's expansive nature, these changes might seem overwhelming at first. They often carry a higher spiritual design that becomes clear only in hindsight. Scorpio individuals are no strangers to transformation, and with Jupiter in the 8th house, the healing process becomes not only inevitable but necessary. You may find yourself drawn to esoteric subjects like astrology, tantra, reiki, or psychology. This is an ideal time to pursue in-depth research, therapy, or meditation practices. The urge to understand hidden truths intensifies, and if you're already involved in healing or investigative professions, this period could enhance your intuitive depth and professional influence. You may also become a support system for others dealing with crisis, trauma, or grief. Since Jupiter also rules your 2nd house, there is a financial dimension to this 8th house transit. Matters related to taxes, insurance, inheritance, loans, or shared finances could take focus. You might receive unexpected wealth through your spouse, family, or even via ancestral assets. Jupiter's presence demands ethical conduct. Misuse of shared resources, manipulative behaviors, or financial dishonesty can backfire during this time. On the positive side, prudent investments, disciplined savings, or wealth building through joint ventures can yield long-term rewards, especially when rooted in integrity. This transit also activates emotional intimacy and vulnerability. Your relationships, especially with in-laws or your partner's family, may deepen or face trials. Some Scorpio individuals could go through karmic reckonings in romantic or marital relationships, revealing hidden truths that bring either healing or closure. The 5th house rulership of Jupiter shows that romance, children, and creative pursuits may be tied to your spiritual awakening during this time. If you're in a relationship, this transit could bring intense emotional bonding or the need to rebuild trust. If you're single, karmic connections from past lives may resurface. Once Jupiter enters the Cancer portion of Punarvasu, after October 18, 2025, it moves into its exalted position in your 9th house, offering a breath of clarity, direction, and divine protection. The 9th house signifies dharma, life philosophy, higher education, mentors, and long-distance journeys. After the intensity of the 8th house passage, Jupiter in the 9th begins a process of rebuilding and guidance. You begin to see the higher purpose behind previous emotional or financial challenges. A sense of optimism slowly returns as you align more closely with your spiritual path or academic ambitions. This is a highly auspicious period for Scorpio individuals to reconnect with their life's deeper meaning. You may feel inspired to explore different belief systems, travel abroad, or enroll in a course that broadens your horizons. If you've been searching for a guru, teacher, or spiritual community, this is a prime time for divine encounters. Those working in publishing, law, teaching, philosophy, or global organizations could witness a turning point in their professional journey. Your voice carries more weight, and your ideas find platforms that resonate with larger audiences. Jupiter's fifth house rulership again becomes important in this phase. It suggests a link between your intelligence, creative expression, and dharma. Projects you birth now may be guided by a higher purpose. Children may bring blessings, either through their own accomplishments or through pregnancy or childbirth, especially if you've faced delays in this area earlier. Spiritual merit from past lives may manifest as sudden opportunities for elevation, grants, scholarships, support from teachers, or divine grace when you least expect it. The second house influence remains active as well, now more positively. Your communication, especially in spiritual or philosophical contexts, becomes influential. You might be asked to write, speak, or counsel others based on your experiences. Your family life may improve, and ancestral blessings could become more evident. Generosity and faith may draw financial abundance. As Jupiter turns retrograde on November 11, 2025, a reflective period begins. Retrogrades are not times to rush ahead, they encourage inner alignment. You may revisit decisions made during the prior months, reassess your belief systems, or rethink academic, legal, or international matters. If you've started studying a subject or working on a long-distance project, delays may require reorganization. Retrogrades are excellent for internalizing wisdom. It's a time for reading scriptures, revisiting old teachings, or reevaluating your dharmic path. On December 5, 2025, Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini, re-entering your 8th house. This return could bring unresolved issues back to the surface, be it financial, emotional, or karmic. A situation you thought had ended may resurface for a final resolution. It's not a punishment but a chance to go deeper, to uncover something you missed the first time. If you had skipped therapy, ignored dead issues, or avoided confrontation with painful truths, now is your chance to address them thoroughly. If you do the work, this retrograde phase could lead to major healing and karmic release. Jupiter turns direct again on March 11, 2026, and you begin moving forward with a renewed sense of clarity. The lessons of the 8th house, loss, surrender, letting go, become integrated. The transit now prepares to bless you in visible ways. When Jupiter re-enters Cancer, its exalted sign, on June 2nd, it resumes its 9th house journey with greater power and purpose. This time, you are more mature, more awakened, and more in tune with the higher laws of life. Overall, the Jupiter transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra will lead Scorpio individuals through a powerful journey of destruction and rebirth, emotionally, financially, intellectually, and spiritually. The 8th house asks you to release control, to surrender to the unknown, and to open yourself to transformation. The 9th house restores your faith, showing you the broader vision of your life purpose and aligning you with universal laws. You will likely come out of this period wiser, more intuitive, and more anchored in your own truth. For Sagittarius, the upcoming Jupiter transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra marks a deeply significant turning point. Jupiter, your sign lord and the ruler of your 4th house, will be traversing your 7th and 8th houses during this period. This extended stay in Punarvasu, due to Jupiter's retrograde motion, opens a spiritual and emotional cycle that touches the core of your relational, emotional, and psychological self. The 7th house, governing partnerships, marriage, and legal agreements, and the 8th house, representing deep transformation, secrets, shared resources, and emotional intensity, together, form the backdrop of your journey during this transit. Jupiter, as your chart ruler, represents your ideals, dharma, and the philosophy with which you approach life. When it transits through Punarvasu, a nakshatra symbolizing return, revival, and healing, your entire sense of identity and life direction will undergo subtle but deep refinement. Punarvasu spans the final degrees of Gemini and the early degrees of Cancer, connecting airy intellect with watery emotion. The initial part of this transit, from August to mid-October 2025, is in your 7th house, Gemini, and emphasizes partnerships, both personal and professional. Jupiter here is in the Gemini section of Punarvasu, an intellectually driven zone ruled by Mercury, where conversations, negotiations, and counseling may become more prominent. You may find yourself having important dialogues in your relationships, addressing unresolved tensions, or even reconsidering earlier decisions in marriage or business partnerships. This is a time when you may feel drawn to mend broken connections or revive relationships that had lost their way. Punarvasu's energy invites second chances, be it a reunion with an estranged partner or a reassessment of what you truly seek in companionship. You may find that partners or close associates return into your life after a period of absence, or that the dynamics of your existing relationships evolve through more conscious, healing communication. Jupiter being an enemy sign Gemini during this phase means some friction is likely. Misalignments in values or beliefs may resurface, pushing you to approach relationships with greater emotional maturity and open-mindedness. If you've been avoiding difficult conversations, this transit will urge you to address them with clarity and compassion. When Jupiter enters Cancer on October 18, 2025, it moves into exaltation, and your 8th house gets activated with powerful emotional force. This portion of Punarvasu is ruled by the moon and carries deeper, more nurturing vibrations. The emotional tone shifts here as Jupiter brings its healing touch to the most vulnerable part of your psyche. The 8th house is a transformative domain. It rules shared resources, inheritance, psychological patterns, intimacy, life-altering experiences, and sometimes even loss. With Jupiter exalted in the Cancer portion of Punarvasu, this becomes a time of emotional renewal after a long phase of inner storms. You may undergo a spiritual awakening or receive sudden insights into your own emotional baggage. This is also a deeply karmic period for healing ancestral patterns, especially those related to emotional security, family conditioning, or suppressed fears. The 8th house also governs sexuality and psychological intimacy. For those in relationships, this transit may deepen the emotional bond or expose unspoken vulnerabilities that had previously been hidden. For some, this can be a time of emotional catharsis, whether through therapy, spiritual practices, or close, trusted companionships. Since Jupiter also rules your 4th house of home, inner peace, and motherly nurturing, you may revisit the concept of emotional safety and redefine what it means to feel at home within yourself and in your most intimate connections. There is also a potential for financial support through shared resources, inheritance, loans, investments, or even spousal income, but these themes will carry a transformational quality rather than surface-level gain. Retrograde motion from November 11, 2025 to March 11, 2026 further intensifies these inner processes. Retrograde Jupiter in Cancer demands introspection. You may pull away from external relationships temporarily to engage in emotional healing or to reassess your spiritual values. Issues around trust, vulnerability, or joint finances may resurface during this time, requiring careful and conscious handling. While some Sagittarius individuals may find this emotionally overwhelming, the real gift of this retrograde is its ability to reset your internal compass. Your belief systems, especially around commitment, intimacy, and emotional dependence, will undergo a kind of purification. You may even revisit spiritual practices or philosophical ideas that once gave you strength, now with a more mature understanding. By December 5, 2025, Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini, returning to your 7th house and reactivating themes around relationships, contracts, and negotiations. This time the energy is more subdued and contemplative. Rather than seeking immediate solutions, you may now prefer to observe patterns, reflect on past relationship mistakes, or quietly resolve internal conflicts. This return to Gemini gives you the opportunity to reassess what you've learned during Jupiter's stay in Cancer and apply that wisdom in a more rational, outward manner. Professional collaborations or partnerships may also undergo change. Some may dissolve, while others could be revived with clearer terms and mutual respect. This period also supports reconciliation efforts, whether with romantic partners, business associates, or even legal adversaries. Once Jupiter turns direct on March 11, 2026, and re-enters Cancer on June 2, the final phase of this transit begins. This last leg, though short, is profound. With Jupiter now moving forward through the exalted zone of Punarvasu in your 8th house, the process of spiritual and emotional regeneration reaches a peak. Emotional clarity returns, and you may feel a profound sense of peace replacing earlier confusion. For many Sagittarius individuals, this period brings tangible signs of healing, repaired relationships, renewed sense of trust, or even positive shifts in finances and joint ventures. This could also be the phase where you discover hidden talents, initiate deeper study of esoteric or occult subjects, or simply experience a powerful rebirth in your internal life. The broader message of Jupiter's journey through Punarvasu for Sagittarius is that of healing through reconnection, with others, with yourself, and with your higher purpose. The duality of Punarvasu asks you to integrate both reason and emotion. The experience is likely to oscillate between negotiating the external world of people and partnerships and confronting the internal world of deep-seated fears, insecurities, and unprocessed emotional residue. Yet Jupiter brings wisdom and grace even through discomfort, promising that the efforts made during this period to recover, realign, and renew will bring profound results. By the time Jupiter moves out of Punarvasu on June 18, 2026, you will have undergone a complete inner reorganization. You may not look drastically different on the outside, but your emotional resilience, psychological depth, and spiritual alignment will have evolved considerably. This is the gift of Jupiter in Punarvasu for Sagittarius individuals, a chance to rebuild yourself and your connections with renewed integrity, deeper empathy, and a faith that what was once lost can indeed be found again, brighter and wiser than before. For Capricorn, the transit of Jupiter through Punarvasu Nakshatra brings a highly transformative and emotionally nuanced phase. As Jupiter rules your 12th and 3rd houses, and transits through the 6th and 7th houses during this period, its influence will significantly affect your daily routines, health, workplace dynamics, partnerships, and spiritual mindset. This long transit, made even more impactful due to Jupiter's retrograde motion within Punarvasu, highlights both the visible and subtle dimensions of growth. It brings opportunities for healing adversities, resolving karmic patterns, and strengthening partnerships through forgiveness, responsibility, and soulful understanding. Punarvasu Nakshatra, where Jupiter begins its journey on August 12, 2025, is symbolized by the return of the light. It follows the intense and chaotic Ardra, representing a return to peace, hope, and emotional balance. Ruled by Jupiter itself, Punarvasu is all about recovery, realignment, and the power of a second chance. For Capricorn individuals, whose temperament is generally pragmatic and duty-bound, this transit encourages the softening of rigid beliefs and routines. The universe will gently push you to reevaluate how you deal with conflicts, how you relate to others in close partnerships, and what emotional patterns you're ready to leave behind. During the initial part of this transit, Jupiter moves through the Gemini section of Punarvasu from August 12th to October 18th, and thus is in your 6th house. This part of the sky is governed by Mercury, and hence, communication, logic, work ethics, and daily responsibilities will take precedence. The 6th house relates to health, debts, enemies, service, and routines. Jupiter here can expand both the problems and the solutions related to this domain. You may feel overwhelmed at times with daily duties, health demands, or workplace competition. The presence of Jupiter in Punarvasu means that many of these difficulties will come with opportunities for healing and recovery. You may return to a previous wellness routine, revisit a dietary or fitness regimen that worked for you in the past, or find a more holistic and spiritually aligned way to manage stress and work. This transit could also bring a return to an old job or role, or even a reconciliation with someone in your work environment. The 6th house is also associated with litigation and adversaries, and Jupiter in Punarvasu might offer a second chance to resolve ongoing disputes, legal, professional, or even personal, through understanding and compromise. Since Jupiter rules your 12th house of loss and spirituality, you may be drawn to serve others, especially in healing, teaching, or counseling roles. Even in a typical job setting, you may take on a more advisory or mentoring position, helping others overcome their difficulties. You'll be asked to shift your approach from conflict to compassion, from discipline to healing. When Jupiter enters Cancer on October 18, 2025, it enters exaltation and simultaneously activates your 7th house, turning the focus toward partnerships, marriage, long-term commitments, and public dealings. This is a powerful and auspicious placement, as the 7th house governs one of the most vital areas of life, how you relate to others on a deep, committed level. This portion of Punarvasu is ruled by the moon, making the emotional undertones of the transit even more pronounced. For Capricorn individuals who are often emotionally guarded or reserved, Jupiter in Cancer can open the heart, soften defensive postures, and allow for emotional vulnerability in relationships. For those already in committed partnerships, this transit may bring an opportunity to heal old wounds or misunderstandings. Punarvasu's theme of second chances plays out powerfully in the 7th house. A spouse or long-term partner may be going through their own healing process, and your role may involve nurturing, support, and emotional availability. The dynamic of give and take in relationships will be highlighted. If you're single, you might attract a partner who embodies nurturing, wise, or spiritual qualities, or even someone from your past may re-enter your life. Marriage proposals, reconciliations, or even working through the intricacies of divorce with grace and wisdom are possible themes, depending on individual circumstances. Jupiter's retrograde beginning on November 11, 2025, and lasting until March 11, 2026, marks a period of reflection, inward growth, and emotional reassessment. When Jupiter retrogrades in Cancer, you'll be revisiting unresolved relationship issues, not just romantic, but also in business, with clients, or in one-on-one dynamics with close associates. This is not a time to push forward with new commitments blindly, but to consider the deeper emotional undercurrents and karmic connections within these partnerships. If you've been giving too much or taking too little, or vice versa, this retrograde offers the chance to realign those imbalances. Retrograde Jupiter will return to Gemini on December 5, 2025, moving back into your 6th house. During this phase, old problems related to health, employment, or enemies may reappear, but this time with a different emotional context. You may now see the root cause behind these issues more clearly, be it stress, lifestyle imbalance, or unresolved resentment. This phase is ideal for revising your work structure, prioritizing mental health, and integrating more meaningful service into your daily life. It's also a suitable period to revise contracts, reflect on partnerships that impact your workload or well-being, and detach from toxic habits or relationships. Once Jupiter turns direct in Gemini on March 11, 2026, and finally re-enters Cancer on June 2nd, you'll feel a surge of clarity. The emotional and intellectual processing of the retrograde period will give way to forward motion. In relationships, you may make important decisions regarding commitment, boundaries, or future direction. Legal matters, partnerships, business contracts, and public alliances may all benefit from this final, exalted phase of Jupiter in the Cancer portion of Punarvasu, which continues until June 18th. There is a sense of graceful closure, forgiveness, and higher understanding as Jupiter prepares to leave the healing nakshatra of Punarvasu and move into Pushya. Capricorn individuals, known for their hard work, endurance, and realism, will find this transit reshaping how they serve and how they relate. Jupiter in Punarvasu, especially across the 6th and 7th houses, teaches the art of balancing effort with empathy and duty with devotion. You may begin this transit overwhelmed with responsibilities, workplace tensions, or relational dilemmas. But as Punarvasu works its quiet magic, you'll find yourself gradually reconnecting with the inner light of wisdom, compassion, and higher purpose. More subtly, Jupiter's rulership of your 12th house brings an undercurrent of spiritual dissolution, surrender, and karmic release. While the outer experiences may deal with partners, clients, and workplace challenges, internally, you are going through a process of letting go of perfectionism, rigidity, or past grievances. By the end of this transit in June 2026, you will likely emerge more emotionally intelligent, relationally aware, and spiritually softened. You will have had the opportunity to refine your health, restructure your daily responsibilities, heal significant relationships, and shed layers of psychological rigidity. Jupiter's blessing through Punarvasu is not loud or dramatic. It's the quiet return of hope after a long phase of endurance. For Aquarius, the upcoming transit of Jupiter through Punarvasu Nakshatra marks a deeply introspective and transformative period. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, and higher learning, governs your 11th house of gains, networks, and ambitions, as well as your 2nd house of wealth, speech, and values. During this transit, Jupiter will pass through your 5th and 6th houses, activating areas of creativity, romance, children, intelligence, as well as service, health, and daily routines. The energy of Punarvasu Nakshatra, which represents recovery, revival, and the return of light after a storm, will permeate these themes, offering second chances in key aspects of life and an opportunity to realign with your inner truth. This transit begins with Jupiter entering the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, located in your 5th house. This phase, lasting from August 12th to October 18th, 2025, places the focus on creativity, learning, romance, and personal expression. The 5th house also governs children, speculative ventures, and intellect. With Jupiter moving through Gemini, a Mercury-ruled sign known for its versatility and intellectual engagement, you may find yourself drawn to subjects that stimulate your curiosity and push the boundaries of your understanding. If you had abandoned a creative pursuit, hobby, or intellectual project in the past, this transit may reignite your interest, allowing you to return to it with a fresh mindset. You might feel more inspired to express your voice, write, perform, or create content that reflects your deeper values and spiritual insights. On the romantic front, the Gemini portion of Punarvasu encourages you to reconnect with a past relationship or reflect on unresolved matters from previous love experiences. Some Aquarius individuals may experience the return of an old flame or have the chance to heal lingering emotional baggage related to love. For others, this transit may simply inspire a shift in the way you approach romantic connections. You might now seek depth and purpose in your bonds rather than surface-level attraction. Jupiter's expansive influence also enhances your ability to forgive and move forward. If you have children, this could be a period of re-establishing emotional bonds with them, especially if recent times have brought misunderstandings or distance. As Jupiter enters Cancer on October 18th, 2025, and continues through the Cancer section of Punarvasu until December 5th, it transitions into your 6th house. This phase emphasizes health, daily responsibilities, conflicts, and service-oriented activities. In Cancer, Jupiter is exalted and thus functions at its highest spiritual and nurturing capacity. Here, the energy becomes more emotional and introspective. The focus shifts from intellectual expression to healing routines and emotional well-being. This is a critical time to examine the balance between work and health. If you've been overextending yourself or neglecting your well-being, this transit will help you slow down, reevaluate, and implement healthier habits. The 6th house also governs employment and relationships with colleagues, and Jupiter's presence and exaltation can improve your working conditions or bring opportunities for more fulfilling service-oriented roles. It may also highlight your ability to mentor others in the workplace or to play a guiding role in a team. For those involved in healthcare, education, counseling, or any humanitarian work, this is a particularly fruitful time. The theme of Punarvasu, renewal and the return to a more balanced state, manifests clearly in this house, encouraging you to find ways to serve without exhausting yourself or compromising your boundaries. With Jupiter beginning its retrograde motion in Cancer on November 11, 2025, a period of reflection and reassessment begins. As Jupiter retraces its steps, it invites you to revisit issues related to physical and emotional health, workplace patterns, and interpersonal dynamics. If conflicts had been brushed aside or if a health condition was ignored, now they may resurface to be properly addressed. This retrograde can be a powerful time for spiritual detox, inner healing, and forgiveness. It may also prompt you to question whether your current lifestyle truly supports your long-term goals and emotional well-being. On December 5, 2025, Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini, returning to your 5th house. This re-entry into the previous terrain signals another round of inner processing, this time focusing again on matters of the heart, creativity, and self-expression. The perspective now is different. You're returning to old topics with more emotional intelligence and clarity. Past ideas, relationships, or artistic endeavors that were once left unresolved or incomplete may now be seen in a new light. For some, this may bring closure. For others, it offers the opportunity to reignite creative passions or mend strained relationships, especially those involving children or romantic interests. This back-and-forth motion of Jupiter, moving between the 5th and 6th houses, and across the Gemini and Cancer zones of Punarvasu, symbolizes an inner dialogue between creativity and responsibility, emotion and intellect, love and service. Aquarius individuals may oscillate between wanting to retreat into solitary reflection and feeling called to serve or support others. This contrast is not a conflict, it is a synthesis. Punarvasu is a nakshatra of balance after chaos, and Jupiter's transit here helps you achieve that balance by bringing light back into areas where doubt or loss had taken root. Once Jupiter turns direct again on March 11, 2026, and re-enters Cancer on June 2nd, a final wave of healing and reorganization begins. This period will feel lighter and more focused, as clarity replaces confusion. The lessons learned during the retrograde are now integrated, and you may find renewed energy for your work, health, and service. Issues that had once seemed overwhelming may now be easier to manage or even completely resolved. You may take on new responsibilities with a more emotionally intelligent approach, or shift your daily habits in ways that prioritize your inner peace. Professionally, this could be a time when past efforts begin to yield visible results. Jupiter's rulership over your 11th house of gains and 2nd house of personal values adds further depth to this transit. There's a strong link between your income, ideals, and the way you communicate your values during this period. Financial recovery is also possible, especially if you've experienced setbacks recently. You may receive support through your network, or reconnect with people who can help you regain financial or professional stability. This transit may inspire you to reconsider your relationship with money and abundance. Speech, family interactions, and your overall value system will be under Jupiter's gentle influence as well. If there were misunderstandings with loved ones, or if your words had created unintended distance in the past, now is a time for reconciliation and honest dialogue. Punarvasu's energy favors mending and forgiving. For those who engage in public speaking, writing, or content creation, this transit supports not just more visibility, but messages that genuinely resonate and heal others. As Jupiter exits Punarvasu Nakshatra on June 18, 2026, you are likely to find yourself standing in a new emotional landscape, one defined by greater clarity, spiritual understanding, and a deeper sense of personal fulfillment. You may not have changed everything externally, but your internal approach to love, work, healing, and relationships will have matured. The challenges that emerged over the past year will have pushed you to expand your emotional bandwidth and move toward a more heart-centered, balanced, and authentic version of yourself. For Aquarius, who often lean toward rationality and innovation, this transit brings an opportunity to explore the emotional and intuitive side of life. It reminds you that progress is not only about technological or intellectual evolution, but also about healing, reconnection, and the soul's capacity for renewal. For Pisces, Jupiter's transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra is one of the most nurturing and realigning phases of the year. Jupiter, your chart ruler and lord of the 10th house, karma, profession, authority, is journeying through your 4th and 5th houses during this time. Punarvasu Nakshatra, ruled by Jupiter itself, embodies the principle of restoration, spiritual return, and emotional resilience. The symbol of the nakshatra, The quiver of arrows suggests a readiness to act again after a setback or period of stillness. As this transit activates both the emotional core and the creative intelligence of your chart, you may find yourself revisiting your roots, reconnecting with joy, and rediscovering your direction with renewed clarity. The initial phase of Jupiter's journey through the Gemini portion of Punarvasu, from August 12th to October 18th, 2025, occurs in your 4th house, representing home, emotional security, mother, inner peace, and foundational happiness. During this time, Jupiter casts its benefic light on all matters related to comfort, domestic affairs, real estate, vehicles, and family dynamics. Because Punarvasu represents a return to balance after disruption, this transit is especially healing if you've faced instability in your personal or emotional life in recent years. Old familial conflicts may now be revisited with a more compassionate mindset. This is an ideal time to mend relationships with your mother or maternal figures, or to gain insights into generational patterns that have shaped your emotional responses. Jupiter in the 4th house often brings opportunities to move, redecorate, or invest in property. For some Pisces individuals, this may be the time when you return to a childhood home, relocate to a more nurturing space, or simply make your current living environment more spiritually aligned. You may develop a stronger desire for solitude and emotional nourishment, turning your attention inward to seek peace and comfort. This inward turn may also revive long-forgotten interests or rituals, spiritual practices, meditation, or journaling that once grounded you. The Gemini influence adds a mental or communicative dimension to this energy. You may engage in writing about your personal history, connecting with siblings, or exploring your heritage intellectually. When Jupiter shifts into Cancer on October 18th, 2025, entering the Cancer zone of Punarvasu in your 5th house, the tone of the transit changes. Here, Jupiter is exalted and thus operates at full spiritual potency. The 5th house rules creativity, children, romance, intelligence, education, and speculative interests. This is a profound time for reclaiming joy, inspiration, and self-expression. You may feel drawn to resume artistic or intellectual projects that were previously abandoned or placed on hold. Punarvasu's energy supports this return to what once brought you happiness, especially activities that had a strong emotional or imaginative connection. If you are involved in performing arts, writing, teaching, or any field that demands imagination and charisma, this is a golden period. Jupiter's exaltation can bring both recognition and deeper fulfillment in these areas. Even if you're not professionally creative, you'll feel an urge to express yourself more openly, whether through hobbies, conversations, or your presence on social platforms. For some, this may be a time when parenting becomes a central theme. Those who already have children may find this phase ideal for reconnecting with them emotionally. There may be beautiful moments of nurturing, understanding, or even mentoring them through a challenge. Romantically, Jupiter's presence in the 5th can revitalize your love life. If you're single, someone from the past may re-enter your life, or a current connection may evolve into something more heartfelt and enduring. If you're in a committed relationship, this transit could help dissolve old misunderstandings and create space for renewal, deeper bonding, and shared joy. The emotional tone of Cancer combined with the returning nature of Punarvasu suggests that love lost may find its way back, or that the heart opens again where it once closed. On November 11th, 2025, Jupiter will begin its retrograde motion in Cancer, signaling an introspective phase that lasts until March 11th, 2026. Retrograde Jupiter in the 5th house prompts you to reassess your sources of joy and fulfillment. You may reflect on how much of your time is truly spent in soulful creativity versus social obligation. This can also bring inner questioning about your role as a parent or lover. Have you been giving too much or holding back emotionally? This time is ripe for inner correction, not punishment. You may review romantic choices, creative projects, or even your educational path. The emotional undercurrent of this phase is deep, but ultimately regenerative. On December 5th, 2025, Jupiter retrogrades back into Gemini and your 4th house, reactivating earlier themes of emotional grounding and home-related matters. Now with hindsight, you can address lingering issues with more maturity and spiritual insight. Perhaps you'll revisit a family situation you initially avoided, or decide to make long-delayed changes in your living space. Some Pisces individuals may also experience a wave of nostalgia or karmic closure related to their childhood or maternal legacy. The return to the 4th during retrograde emphasizes settling what was left incomplete, emotionally or domestically. It's a time to ask, what truly brings me peace, and what have I been tolerating that steals it? The interplay between the 4th and 5th houses, and between Gemini and Cancer signs, highlights a beautiful emotional rhythm. You are being called to first heal inwardly and then express outwardly. Jupiter is encouraging a movement from inner stability to outer expression, from emotional nurturing to joyful creativity. This flow can also manifest in practical ways, After reconfiguring your home or emotional security, you feel more open to love, more eager to teach or share, and more confident in your creative expression. There is an intimate, almost divine weaving happening in the background of your life, aligning your roots and your wings. By the time Jupiter turns direct again on March 11, 2026, you are likely to feel more emotionally integrated. When Jupiter re-enters Cancer on June 2nd and continues through Punarvasu until June 18th, it finalizes this chapter of inner emotional and creative renewal. The themes you've been navigating, family bonds, emotional maturity, creative reawakening, and romantic fulfillment, begin to resolve or flow more naturally. This last stretch of the transit may bring closure to long-standing personal matters, or a sense that your inner and outer worlds are now more in harmony. Importantly, Jupiter governs your 1st and 10th houses as a Pisces native. This means your very identity, public image, and professional path are colored by this transit. While much of this journey seems internal, related to the heart, home, and emotional grounding, it directly impacts your ability to lead, work, and inspire others. As you heal from within and reawaken your joy, you radiate more authenticity, attracting opportunities that align with your truth. Professionally, this may be a time when you reorient your goals, stepping away from roles that feel hollow and leaning into those that feed your spirit. Your leadership style becomes more intuitive, nurturing, and creative. Overall, the Jupiter transit through Punarvasu Nakshatra for Pisces is a soulful journey of return. A return to self, to the heart, to joy, to emotional safety, and to the creative spark that once animated your life. It helps you gather the scattered pieces of yourself and lovingly bring them back home. Whether it's healing childhood wounds, reigniting an old passion, or finding the courage to love again, this transit is a gift. It doesn't promise flashy transformations, but something far more meaningful, quiet, consistent growth rooted in emotional truth and spiritual wisdom. As we conclude this episode, please keep in mind that these insights are based on the Sidereal Zodiac system used in Vedic astrology, which differs from the tropical system by approximately 24 degrees. These are general predictions, and outcomes will vary depending on your individual birth chart. The influence of transits is deeply shaped by your ongoing dasha periods and the placement of planets in your natal chart. What may be a time of progress for one person could be a period of reflection or challenge for another. This is why it's important to interpret transits in the context of your unique chart. If you're seeking a more personalized understanding of how current transits may impact you, or if you have specific questions about your birth chart, feel free to reach out to us. If you found this content helpful, please consider liking the video, sharing it with others who may benefit, and subscribing to our channel. And be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. Thank you for watching. We look forward to continuing to share more astrological insights with you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep shining bright.